In this video, I'm going to take the Logisim file from the last video and port it into the new Logisim Evolution. I've left a link in the resources section which will take you through to the place where you can get a copy of the Logisim Evolution and have a read about it. I've also left a copy of the executable file for Evolution so you can just download it if you'd like. So let's go ahead in this video and we'll port this over. Now the first thing to do is to take a copy of the file that you want to port over. So this is a file here, and I suggest that you put the file into a new folder and you know that you're dealing with the Logisim Evolution. So I've called this new Logisim Evolution folder, so I'm always sure that I'm going to open up the new files for Logisim Evolution within the Evolution environment and not vice versa. So we can go ahead and, if you go ahead and download the Evolution, you can just again double click it to open it up. So I've got a connection on my desktop here, so I can open this up here. And we won't talk through all the changes or the differences here in the Evolution just at the moment. What we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we'll try and port the old file from the old Evolution into this one. So all of the pull down menus here are much the same position. There's an extra couple of one here called FPGA, but we don't need to bother too much about that. The only thing to note here is that whenever we have our little pull down menu here, it's actually in two. They've got a simulate and you've got a design. Okay, so we're interested in pulling out the information from our CPU in the design folder here. So if we go into File, Open, and we'll open up that new file that we've just generated. Now I've already actually did this once before, so I'm doing this again with this same file just to see whether the same issues occur. So you'll get this telling you've created a file in the original Logisim code, so we just OK this. Now this is the thing that you want to take note of. You can see here it actually tells you where some of the missing components are, and it's worthwhile to take a screen snapshot of this. It might come in handy. So I've got a copy of this here at the moment, and you can see here the only place it's really mentioning is this exclusive OR LE_8, so we can get in and have a look at that. So that's everything ported over. Now what we want to do is get in and have a little look at the circuit. So we go to the top level. Now you can see right away that there's a difference here, and the difference is in this RAM. Okay, so the RAM block just looks slightly different, but that's easy enough to fix. So we'll fix this. In fact, we'll just go ahead and fix that now. So we're still going to have the memory address register is going to go to where the address is. We're going to have the bus going to go where the input is, and we're going to have the RAM set, and the RAM set again is going to get in where the clock is. But you notice here there's also an extra pin here that actually says set, so you can just go ahead and actually connect the RAM set up to that little pin there, and if you hover over the pin it will say store if one input to memory. Okay, so connect it like this. We can always talk about this again in a little while, and we can take the output here, and again that goes to the data. So it's actually very similar to what we had previously. The only difference really is in the size of the physical circuit here. So we'll take that and post it up here. So that's us updated the first little section. Now if you were to run through a simulation here, you find out that it won't actually work. So in fact, I should just do that now. If we go in here and we'll try and reset it. So in fact, if we go in here, right, if we try to even just reset this, you can see here it's coming up with this, it's all red, and at the bottom of the screen here, although you can't see it, it actually says oscillation apparent. Okay, so it's just not happy. Okay, and whenever you go to port a lot of your things, that stuff in, you'll notice that initially it won't do it automatically. There's always something you're going to have a little look at. Now, it's okay if you're going to follow me here using this file, because I've already done this and I've already spent about an hour unraveling what was wrong with this. So it took me roughly an hour to work through to get this working. So if you've got your own individual design, then the chances are whenever you port it over, you might have slightly different problems from what I have. But it's actually quite a good process for learning, trying to debug the issues with the program, and you actually learn quite a lot from doing it, so it's well worthwhile going through this process. And also the evolution version that they have here is really a lot faster, and you know, it's a lot more reliable than the previous versions. So we don't know what's wrong with this, but I went in earlier and I'll try and show you my process that I used to unravel it. So I noticed here that when I went into the control section, and I went through, and the first thing I noticed here when I was in the control section was the stepper. So I just thought, well, I'll try and step through each of the steps and just make sure the stepper is actually counting, because if the stepper's not counting, then nothing's going to happen. So when I went into the stepper, I noticed I had these errors here, and I messed about with this circuit for about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes, and I realised that the circuit here is exactly the same circuit as in the original Logisim, but the evolution version is just not happy. Now, there's obviously some kind of race condition occurring here, and I tried a couple of different methods in order to fix it, and the one I decided to stick with was to get rid of the reset pin here for each of these. So I created a new instance for our mem1, and this is a mem1 without the initial reset, and allow the reset to occur naturally via the connectivity of the circuit here. So what I'll do is I'll open up the finished file and you'll see this difference, and we'll compare it to what we have here. Now again, you might not have this error, you might be fine, there might be a slightly different error that you would have. Now the one other thing that I noted, which was an awkward one to find, and that is when I went into the control section, there was an OR gate here, some just random gate here that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inputs, and it changed it to a 2-input OR gate. Now it did this again whenever I opened it up and tried again. I tried 2 or 3 times, or 3 times I tried it, and it made the exact same error each time. So why it does it, I'm not 100% sure, but I had to change this back to a 5-input. Now it wasn't that difficult to find because it was in the fetch execute cycle, so I just worked through the fetch execute cycle to find where the problem was, and as soon as I clicked on it, you could see straight away. So those are the only problems that I come up against, and you might come up against some slightly different problems, but it's a good process for you to go through and fault find in your circuit and try and work out what's going wrong with it. and get it up and get it running. So let's go and we'll have a look at the finished one that actually I've got up and running and works. So this is the working edition that you see here, and we have the new RAM at the top, which is connected. And when we head in to the control section, this was the gate here that had changed from a 5 input to a 2 input. So I've put this back to a 5 input OR gate, and the stepper here, this is where most of the changes occurred. I got rid of the memory cell with the reset, and I created another one. Okay, so just for this instance, I created another memory cell, and this one here doesn't have the reset function. So I've took the reset function out of this one, because that's what appeared to be generating that race condition. And so that's gone, that reset condition, that reset has completely gone from this, and we get the reset from here and through this OR gate, and we've got the output here fed back through to this input OR gate, and the reset comes in here. So you can compare this circuit to the previous one, but this works fine and it's happy with this circuit, and it will reset properly. Now there's only one other thing to note, and this was what came up with the original error here about this. Don't know if you can see my little mouse here, but it's the CPU XOR LE_8, and there was a ground pin missing, and whenever I went in to check that out, it's inside the ALU, and that's this component here, and this little ground, which is a 0 point here, was just sitting floating. It wasn't connected to anything. So I put the ground on this. So that's basically it. So those really kind of three things: the RAM, the ground on this component here, and the stepper not stepping through properly or not resetting. So once I've fixed those, the design worked fine. So I'll make this a little bigger for us. So I ran through an example here. So if you just press on the reset, you see everything resets. We can right click this and we can load up new content. So you go edit contents and we'll open a file. Now you can still use the files from the Logisim version on Logisim Evolution. They still work fine. So if I click on that, close window, and this loads up the Fibonacci sequence. So I'll run through this just now, and you can go into simulate, and here's the tick enable, and you'll notice the tick frequency goes up to 1024 kilohertz. So if I click tick enable, you'll see register R3 counting through the Fibonacci numbers, 3, 5, 8, and it does it in hex until it gets up to the end, and that's it finished. So the circuit works fine. That's it ported into Logisim Evolution. From now on, I will be using the Evolution version for the rest of the course. Now, I suggest you try and copy yours into Evolution as well. It'll be worthwhile. If you've got any problems, you can always spend an hour or so trying to fix it. If you can't, you can get in contact and I'll see if I can give you a hand. It is worthwhile porting it over. Logisim Evolution runs a lot better, and especially whenever we extend the circuits up to include, say, like floating point units and things like other things, it will stand us in good stead if we're using this version rather than the old version, which is no longer supported. So that's all for this video. Thank you for listening. I'll get you on the next video. Goodbye.